But we do begin with the war in Ukraine. Russia is refocusing its offensive to the eastern part of the country.
While Moscow occupies much of the east and south, they still don't have key cities like Kharkiv or Mariupol. Ukrainian officials said at least 3 people are dead and more than a dozen injured in Kharkiv during an overnight attack on the city. The Kremlin says forces shelled more than 1,200 targets across Ukraine.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has vowed Ukraine will not give up the eastern Donbas region and says they will continue to fight. The Kremlin moved its attention to capturing the Donbas region after failing to capture the capital city of Kyiv. Now, CBS News foreign correspondent Chris Losay joins us from Kyiv with more. And Chris, thank you for joining us this afternoon. At this point, Russia has now launched its full offensive into eastern Ukraine. How are Ukrainian officials responding to this new act?
Well, they're responding by mobilizing heavy artillery of their own. I mean, and a lot of that comes from the latest U.S. military aid package to Ukraine. That was an $800 million bundle that includes 155 millimeter howitzer cannons for the first time, as well as 100 armored Humvees, M-17 helicopters. What's significant about that is we're starting to see more of this heavy artillery. In the earlier stages of this war, you saw a lot of these portable weapons like, those Javelin anti-tank weapons or those Stinger anti-aircraft weapons coming in from the United States and NATO allies, which were extremely useful, especially in these urban combat environments. But we spoke to a Ukrainian lawmaker who said those kinds of weapons suggested that the West was counting on us losing this war, that they were preparing for a kind of guerrilla insurgency. But now Ukraine has been so successful in pushing back the Russians that they need heavy artillery. Nevertheless, in addition to that heavy artillery that they're getting from the United States, this latest package also includes some of those lighter weapons, as I mentioned, those Javelins. They've gotten about 500 of them. In addition, they've gotten 300 more Switchblade drones. So that's pretty much what they're doing to lay the ground. Nevertheless, they're still facing a huge uphill battle. They are absolutely the underdogs compared to a much bigger Russian military.
So, Chris, it now seems like no part of the country is safe from attack. What has been happening in the western part of Ukraine?
That's absolutely right, because even if Russia is concentrating its invasion now on eastern Ukraine, the skies are the enemy wherever you are in Ukraine. It used to be that places like Lviv were a safe haven for refugees. That's no longer the case. Russia has increased its attacks there for the first time a day ago, attacking Lviv with 4 rocket blasts. 7 people were killed, many more were injured, and among them were refugees, or rather I should say internally displaced people who were fleeing fighting further in the east. We've seen an increased amount of attacks in Kyiv as well. The air raid sirens have been going here once again, and when you talk to people, they say precisely that. There's really no place to run right now so long as Russia has control of the skies, and you will not meet a single Ukrainian who, once they hear that you're an American, doesn't implore you to please tell your congressmen, tell your senators, tell the American president that Ukraine needs more military help and it needs them to close the skies.
Chris Losay, thank you very much for your reporting.